It's time for a daily dose of cope, but I'm going to be honest because I know that so many people are going to be impacted by what happened with this big, beautiful pile of poo. I know that this is not going to be as satisfying because I know that older folks, kids, disabled people are about to be impacted, but we still need to go ahead and talk about what happened with this big, beautiful pile of poop. Here's Trump on his Lie Social page. The one big beautiful bill has passed the House of Representatives. This is arguably the most significant piece of legislation that has ever been signed in the history of our country. This bill includes massive tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax deductions when you purchase an American-made vehicle, along with strong border measures, pay raises for our ICE and Border Patrol agents, funding for the Golden Dome, Trump savings accounts for newborn babies, and much more. Great job by Speaker Mike Johnson and the House leadership, and thank you to every Republican who voted yes on this historic bill. Now it's time for our friends in the United States Senate to get to work and send this bill to my desk as soon as possible. There is no time to waste. The Democrats have lost control of themselves and are aimlessly wandering around, showing no confidence, grit, or determination. They have forgotten their landslide loss in the presidential election and are warped in the past, hoping someday to revive open borders for the world's criminals to be able to pour into our country, men to be able to play in women's sports, and transgender for everybody. What? I didn't know that he put in transgender for everybody. Like everybody gets a doll. Like what the heck is that? They don't realize that these things and so many more like them will never again happen. So the landslide that the Republicans won by was a margin of 1. All of the Democrats were on board saying, no, this is a hot mess. 215 Republicans, 212 Democrats, and 2 Republicans voted no. People were cheering like, yay, we're about to cut all this stuff off. We're about to cut funding. We're about to cut people's food stamps. Oh my God, we're going to cut health care for millions of people. And I really hope that once these MAGA voters realize that that means that their food stamps is going to get cut off, that many of the red states that they live in are actually welfare states, that they're really going to be harmed. And I really hope that they are stressed and sad and eventually they get regretful. But for right now, people are cheering, yay. But you know what they're doing with the food stamp situation is going to definitely take a bite out of, well, no pun intended, but it's going to take a bite out of people's household budgets. It's going to cut SNAP by $260 billion, I think over 10 years. It's going to require states to share in SNAP costs by 2028 and tighten the work requirements for SNAP recipients. Over 3 million Americans could lose food stamp assistance. I went over to the 19th to get this blurb about what the House Republicans did. It says, under SNAP, the package passed by the House Republicans would require more SNAP recipients in their 50s and 60s to work and provide fewer exemptions for parents. The proposal would lower the age at which work requirements end by a decade to 54. And this part right here, listen to this. Right now, parents with dependent children under 18 are exempt from working. The bill lowers that to age 7. So as of right now, your dependent children is technically anybody under the age of 18. Now they're saying that they're going to push that to 7. So your 8-year-old child, I have an 8-year-old child in there. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. So I guess they're not dependent children. That would basically mean that I would need to go to work, even though I have these dependent children, because they literally are dependent and they keep asking for money and things. They're definitely dependent. And it's not like they could go to work. But also this works hand in hand with how they keep trying to roll back child labor laws, because they want people so impoverished and desperate that they start sending their kids to work. That this is the party of family values that really want y'all to go out and have some babies. Additionally, the Republican-approved legislation would require states to take on more of the cost of administering SNAP and limit the ability of future administrations to raise benefit amounts. Changes to SNAP could affect school nutrition programs, as many students qualify for free meals based on whether they and their families are eligible for food stamps, all at the same time that they are cutting subsidies to farmers, which help get food from farm to school, and while they are cutting free lunches for impoverished people. These Republicans are extra cruel, and it needs to be repeated how cruel they are to family, like people that are in poverty or struggling. Remember on his Lie Social post, he's talking about a global dome. Well, Natalie is taking exception to the global dome. She says, please just make life livable again. I do not give an F about a golden dome. I want to be able to afford food and rent, as I'm sure most of your citizens do and are begging for. We are struggling so bad and you're building a dome? I liked you better in 2020. You had a better plan and things were actually pretty decent. Now I don't know how I'm going to make it. And yes, I work a good job because I went to school for it and I'm still struggling. Do something to help the day-to-day people. We don't care about this flashy The whole Golden Dome situation is wild to me. When I saw this the other day, I'm like, we are living in a parallel universe. He wants to spend billions of dollars on a dome. He wants to spend millions of dollars on a parade for himself, all while cutting people's jobs in the name of efficiency and waste and fraud and all of that. Make sure that kids can't eat, but we're going to create a golden dome and have an expensive parade in his honor. That is where we are. We are not living. This is so unserious. The Golden Dome missile defense system will cost about $175 billion and be operational in less than 3 years with a success rate close to 100%, Trump declared Tuesday afternoon as he shared new details about his ambitious, very expensive, and controversial missile defense shield for the U.S. homeland. It follows one of the president's official acts of his second term, ordering the U.S. military to move forward with plans for a massively enlarged architecture for defeating high-end missile threats. This is where we are, y'all. These people are so unserious. He wants to build things. He wants to have toys and stuff, all the while screwing us, but at least he is screwing the people that voted for him. So this is another story about farmers, and farmers did largely go for Trump. So this article, Trump backing farmers vent Trump pride is now hopelessness, frustration, and anger. And at least we have that. They're hopeless, and at least we have that. Farmers who voted for Trump are now feeling helpless, frustrated, and angry after the administration made cuts to services they rely on. Vegetable farmers Jacob and Jennifer Thomas have taken more than a 10% hit to their bottom line after Trump abruptly cut $1 billion from two programs that supply local produce and meat to schools and food banks across the country. The financial insecurity makes my depression worse. And that at least is a cope for me. That's what Jacob Thomas told the Post. Then the administration also cut an $8,000 grant, which would have allowed them to build a new greenhouse, probably the whole new scam, green new scam, even though this was actually helping people. They really have their own constituents thinking that all of everything that Biden did was going to hurt people with the green new scam. Later, their plans for a new warehouse and the expansion of their farm store are up in the air because the administration pausing and then unpausing a $750,000 federal agricultural grant. Just because one program went away, there's still plenty of time to pivot, Jacob Thomas said. The outlet claims he was trying to remain optimistic with the sentiment. Many in the area voted for Trump, but the good feelings are starting to fade, giving way to a growing sense of helplessness, frustration, and anger. For every farmer I've talked to, this has been earth-shattering and life-changing, Brian Ziesinger, a winemaker, told the Post. I don't know what they were supposed to achieve, but from our perspective, you just hurt a lot of people. At least they own the libs, though. They might not be able to own their house or farm, but they own the libs. A lot of these people still won't express regret. Yet. They actually have to lose their farm, they have to lose their home, they have to lose their business, and then they need to suffer for 2 to 3 more years. So that's where I am with these people. More leopards are feasting. So this one's titled, My Red City in Florida sent out notification that 37 schools will lose free lunch next school year. So these parents better get to working. They better figure out if they can send their kids out to work on somebody's farm or something, go pick some citrus or something, but especially if they are over the age of 7. And why did I say that kids over the age of 7 have to go to work? Is because the Republicans have lowered the age that dependent children are. It used to be 18, and under this, it says the bill lowers that age to 7 as far as work requirements, but we might as well just say if you're 8 years old, you need to go out there and get a job. So let's talk about the schools that are losing funding. It says beginning in the 2025-2026 school year, there will be 37 schools that will no longer be providing free lunch meals through the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP. Instead, families with students attending these schools will need to complete an application for free or reduced price meals to receive meal assistance or be directly certified through the state. The full list of affected schools is included below. These schools do not meet the criteria for the CEP, a federal program that allows schools to offer free meals to all students. To qualify as a CEP school, 40% of enrolled students must be eligible for free or reduced price meals through other government programs such as SNAP, TANF, or Medicaid. And if they are rolling back eligibility on who's eligible, that means that these schools are going to lose funding, federal funding. This is all about the Republicans snatching funding. This change comes after a careful review of our budget for the upcoming school year. Since March 2020, we've been able to offer free meals to all students district-wide thanks to federal pandemic relief funding. However, that funding has ended, and continuing the program without it is no longer financially sustainable. While this is a necessary step for the district, we understand it may create challenges for some families. Our goal is to provide you with the information and support you need to be prepared for the 2025-26 school year. Please note, breakfast will continue to be available at no cost to all students at all schools through the federal Universal Free Breakfast Program if your child attends one of the 37 schools. Okay, so they can at least get breakfast. So the rest of this is just saying they need to apply for assistance. But this goes along hand in hand with stripping federal funds from kids. Just like I have been saying, Republicans are repugnant. They do not like kids. They want to make sure that kids are hungry, that families are desperate, and then they can send these kids out to work in the fields, especially since they are kicking people out and deporting their labor. And that takes me to another article. These people voted to deport their labor. These people voted to deport their farm workers. So this is an article from the Boston Globe. It says, who's going to milk the cows? Vermont farmers and migrant workers fear Trump crackdown could cripple dairy farms. Dustin Machia was excited to vote for Donald Trump for president last year, in part because he pledged to crack down on illegal immigration. We had a border problem, Machia said. We don't want bad people in here. We don't need the drugs and the gangbangers. I have no idea why I did that voice. All right, it says, but following high-profile deportations of migrant workers in northern Vermont, Machia, a fifth-generation dairy farmer, says he feels misled. Misled how, considering he was all about the crackdown. All right, it says all the dairy farmers who voted for Trump were under the impression they weren't going to come on farms and take our guys. Oh, he was going to be, they were going to go over. Oh, okay, that's what he says. It's happening more than we'd like. It's scaring the farming community. And we're like, this wasn't supposed to happen. This is not supposed to happen to me, to us. What? Federal immigration authorities say they are not targeting Vermont's $3.6 billion dairy industry, which is responsible for 63% of the milk produced in New England. But the recent arrests are prompting some in the sector to wonder how it would survive without its undocumented labor. The enforcement actions have only added to the list of woes Vermont dairy farmers were already experiencing: unstable milk prices, rising costs due to tariffs, the threat of avian flu, and the lingering effects of 2 major floods and a global pandemic. It's just a whole lot going on. Migrant workers are essential to the dairy industry in Vermont, New England, and the nation, said Vermont Secretary of Agriculture Anson Tebbetts. The recent law enforcement actions have created tremendous anxiety for everyone in the industry. I think our farmers are concerned about the well-being of their workers. That's foremost. They're also concerned if the workforce was to go away, who's going to do the work? Who's going to milk the cows? They voted to run off their labor force. Part of this is cut off, but it says the workload on these farms is intense, says Jackie Folsom, a former dairy farmer and president of the Vermont Farm Bureau. And we are not able to find locals who want to work on farms anymore. So Americans are not working. But this is the reason why you keep cutting food. You make people desperate, and then you make the kids go out to work, y'all. According to the University of Vermont, 94% of dairies in the state that hire outside help employ migrant labor. That amounts to an estimated 750 to 850 workers, mostly from Mexico, plus 150 partners and children. Though another 500 farm workers, mostly from Jamaica, obtain seasonal agricultural visas to work legally in Vermont in the Vermont apple orchards, berry farms, and elsewhere, there is no applicable visa for year-round operations such as dairy. To replace your whole milking crew every 10 months is not a thing. It takes months to train these guys up. It wouldn't work. Machia employs around 25 people year-round, including 11 migrants. Like many Vermont farmers, he said he's careful to follow the law and ask each worker for documentation required by the state and federal governments. It's not his responsibility to verify the accuracy of the paperwork. So he's doing the don't ask, don't tell type of thing. I am skipping some of this article, but I'm going to keep it moving. It says, on a farm not far from the Canadian border, one undocumented worker told the Globe he was going into town less frequently to avoid taking unnecessary risk. He asked to be identified only by his nickname, Sheppy or Cheppy. And the thing is, these people do spend money, so that is taking money out of the local economy as well. It says everything they're doing is just about trying to instill fear in the community, Sheppy said through an interpreter sitting in the living room of a trailer where he lives. It's all about trying to make us afraid. Like many migrant dairy workers, Sheppy works 12-hour days, 6 days a week, beginning at 4 a.m. He said he left Mexico 8 years ago in search of financial stability and sends money home to his children, whom he hasn't seen since. So he hasn't seen his kids in 8 years. And people think that these people are just coming here to just because, but they are literally sacrificing so that they can send money home to their kids. But this is who they want to get rid of, and these people are not that easily replaced. But then back to Dustin Machia, the farmer at the beginning of this article. It says, despite his misgivings about the immigration crackdown, Dustin Machia says he doesn't regret voting for Trump. He doesn't regret this even though his workforce is impacted. He says, I'd still do it again. I like a lot of his policies. I feel he's more for the rural people like us, the middle class type person. Despite these tariffs hurting people, despite cutting off their funding and the funding that they get to send school kids food, despite getting rid of their labor, despite the fact that they can't get these grants that they were going to use to improve their farms. But this is the reason why these people deserve it. They thought that it was just going to be the other people hurt. These people deserve to lose their farms. And I have no empathy. I have no grace for these people. And I really do hope that they start to lose everything. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I hope they lose everything. All right, y'all. You let me know what you think. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
The President of the United States is fucking lying. I think this whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind.